All right, everybody, we're back with another excerpt from the Blu and the Brit. That is a podcast with me, Rob, and my buddy Ryan. Before I get into the breakdown of what we talked about in this episode, I want to give a special shout out to my patrons, Joseph and Avi, also known as Ryan. It's really awesome to have any kind of additional support outside of the likes and the subscriptions and the comments and all that stuff. There's just something about knowing that people are willing to throw me a couple of dollars to say, hey, we like what you do and we want you to keep doing it. It makes me feel really good. So I genuinely appreciate anyone that is willing to take that extra step and become a patron. So with that said, for today's excerpt of the Blu and the Brit, the topic that Ryan and I chose to talk about was microtransactions. And that is something that gets beaten to death in the gaming world, but it was a surprisingly more nuanced conversation than I thought it was going to be, and maybe even Ryan felt that way as well, because it wasn't just us saying microtransactions are bad, they should be removed from gaming. It was a conversation about art and creativity and passionate people trying to make cool things for other people to enjoy. It was a very dynamic conversation, and for this little snippet, Ryan and I are just going to talk about the purchases that we made that we maybe regretted, maybe we didn't regret. I don't know. You have to listen and watch to find out. So let's get into it.
Like, did you feel like... I remember you asking me this question before, but did you ever feel like... And sort of getting back onto the topic of, like, microtransactions and stuff, did you ever was there ever a purchase that you made in a game that you didn't feel satisfied by? Like, you sort of... Like, when all was said and done, did you feel like, oh, I wasted my money?
That is a very good question. There's certainly the purchases that I made in Continent of the Ninth. It was a free to play action RPG that I mentioned earlier. I regret those only because I was playing that game for basically 14 hours a day in a very dark time in my life, and I look back on it and I think, damn, if I had used that money for something better and more practical, then it would have been nicer. But on a more recent note, I do regret some of the money that I spent on Anthem's microtransactions, because when I bought them initially,
You didn't.
I did because they were cool and I wanted to buy them. But that's the thing, right? I didn't buy them out of any sort of sensation of being compelled to buy them. I bought them because I thought they looked cool, and I said, "Fuck it, I'll spend a couple of bucks on this skin or whatever, because it'll make my character look a little bit cooler." It is what it is. And then the game explodes in a fiery flop a few weeks later, and I'm a little bit disappointed by that. But that's not something that's more of my disappointment with the BioWare developers overall, and not so much my disappointment with the purchase itself, because the purchase looked cool. It still does look cool. If I ever play the game again, I'm gonna look cool with the purchase I made. But because I'm super disappointed with the way the game is being handled, then that's trickling into, oh yeah, I spent this extra money. It's almost like if you spend a bunch of money on a girl and then y'all break up and you're like, fuck, why did I take her to Red Lobster? Should have just gone to McDonald's.
No, I mean, like, that was like despite the breakup, I never regretted a penny I spent on my ex.
Yeah, you're
Like,
lucky.
but well, I've sort of come to sort of decide as I've gotten older, like, do I really feel bad about these things? I think it's an age thing. I think it's an age thing. Like, sort of, like, you sort of make your bed and lie in it. You know, particularly when I was younger, there were definitely some things that I sort of wish I hadn't purchased. Um, I think one of the big ones for me was the Spectre packs in Mass Effect 3. The Galaxy at War stuff. I loved the multiplayer, and I actually did back when my channel was sort of... I think it was when I was still using my old channel moniker, because I have two. I've sort of had a restructure a couple of years prior. Oh, fucking hell, that was years ago. I think I spent a fair amount on Spectre packs, and then I ended up just dropping the game because I felt uninterested by it. Like no one was playing, and I wasn't able to keep up with the DLC, and because I didn't have much disposable income, I sort of was like, well, I'd rather buy Assassin's Creed 3 than fritter away small amounts of money on a game that's probably going to be irrelevant later down the line. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of to that effect. kind of to that Mass Effect. Sorry.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
But no, like if anything, like certain DLC, like certain like things for the game that are sort of small, expansive experiences, I felt that they were sometimes worse. Like they were sort of like you see all the hype up for all this new shit that's in the game, and then it ends up being okay, but not brilliant, and you're just like, well, I mean, yeah, I got it, but did I really feel like it was worth? Probably not, given the grand scheme.
Right. It fits so perfectly with it has a great parallel to relationships, because that is how I feel about a lot of the failed relationships that I've been in. It's like, well, the trailer was pretty good, so I thought it was it was going to be awesome, and then it wound up being not so great. But your sentiment about not feeling the regret, I do have that as well, for the most part. I don't generally look at any of the purchases I've made with any kind of hatred, but there are some that I look back at and I feel a little bit, I kind of wish I didn't buy that. It would have been nicer if I didn't. I would have had an extra $20 or whatever the price was. But it's ultimately, I don't think I've made any purchases that have made me feel horrible. Some things bad, some things like, that's not ideal, but nothing has ever made me feel horrible after buying it, which is pretty solid. But that's mostly because I don't ever buy loot boxes. Because if I would spend $20 on 10 loot boxes and I don't get the thing that I want, I would feel awful.
Yeah, exactly.
But I tend to not engage in that practice. And there we go. That's going to do it for the excerpt for episode 9 of The Blu and the Brit. Like I said, it was an interesting conversation, and if you want to check out the entire podcast, you can head over to soundcloud.com/iBluairJgR and listen for free. We still don't have a set schedule for when these episodes come out, but the next episode, episode 10, is coming out on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. And with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.